Noah sat on the edge of his bed, holding his phone in his hands. The screen was dark, but he stared at it like he was waiting for a message to appear. It had been 3 months since Emma moved away, and every day since then had felt a little more empty. Emma wasn't just a friend. She had been his best friend since they were kids. They used to walk to school together, eat lunch under the same tree, talk about everything, their dreams, their fears, even the stars. But now, she lived in another country, her family had. Moved because of her dad's job. Noah remembered the day she told him. She had tried to smile, but her eyes had filled with tears. He had smiled too, pretending to be strong, but inside something had cracked. At first they called every day, then once a week. Now it had been 2 weeks since they last talked. Noah missed her laugh. He missed her questions about life. He even missed the way she always made him try weird food. Without her, his world felt quiet. He opened his old messages. Most were simple. Good morning, did you eat? Saw something that reminded me of you. But the last one from her just said, busy these days. Sorry. Noah typed a message, then deleted it, then typed again. Still he didn't send it. He didn't know what to say anymore. His heart felt heavy. Not because she forgot him, but because he didn't know how to stay close. He felt like a small planet slowly spinning away from the star that once warmed him. Outside, it started to rain. He watched the drops run down the window like tiny rivers. Each one reminded him of the times he and Emma would run in the rain, laughing like it was their own secret world. A small knock came at his door. His younger sister peeked in. You okay? He nodded, forcing a smile. Yeah. She walked in and sat beside him. You miss her, don't you? He stayed quiet for a moment, then nodded again. Why don't you call her? She asked softly. She's probably busy, he said. Or maybe she's moved on. His sister tilted her head. But maybe she's thinking the same thing about you. Noah looked at his phone again. Maybe it wasn't too late. Maybe distance didn't mean the end. Maybe humans, even when they feel small, have something strong inside them, something that doesn't give up on people they care about. Hope. Noah stood up and took a deep breath. The rain kept falling, but it didn't feel so sad now. It felt like a promise. He turned on his computer and opened an old photo folder. Pictures of him and Emma filled the screen, smiling faces, messy hair, late-night snacks, and silly videos. He smiled, really smiled for the first time in days. Then, he opened a new message. Hey Emma, he typed. I know it's been a while. I hope you're okay. I miss our talks. If you ever feel like it, I'd love to catch up. No pressure. Just, I wanted you to know I'm still here. He hit send, and just like that, something inside him felt lighter. He didn't know what would happen next, but he knew he had tried. That was the human thing to do, to reach out even when unsure, and that small act. It was filled with strength. Noah checked his phone again the next morning. Nothing, no reply, no message, not even a scene. He sighed, placed the phone face down on the table, and stared at his cereal. It had gone soggy. He didn't feel hungry anymore. He had hoped that sending that message would change something. Maybe Emma would reply right away. Maybe she'd been waiting for him to say something first. Maybe something. But the silence that followed felt heavier than before. He walked to school slowly. The streets were the same, but everything felt different without her. Every corner reminded him of her. The bench outside the library where they used to wait for the bus, the wall near the park where she had painted a small flower. It was still there, faded, but still standing. At lunch, Noah sat alone. His friends laughed and talked, but he didn't feel part of the moment. He kept glancing at his phone, even though he told himself not to. That evening, he lay on the floor of his room, staring at the ceiling. His little sister was drawing in the corner. Still no message? She asked gently. He shook his head. Maybe her phone is broken, she offered. Maybe, Noah said. But deep down, he wondered if maybe she had really forgotten him. Maybe life moved faster in her new place. New school, new friends, new world. Still, something inside him didn't want to give up. Humans don't always have powers or big machines, he thought. But they do have something strong. They care deeply. Even when it hurts, even when it feels hopeless. Noah sat up and looked at the bookshelf. One of the books Emma had given him was still there. A simple novel about stars, hope, and long-distance friendships. He opened it and smiled. There was a note in her handwriting inside the cover. "Wherever you are, just look up. We're under the same sky." Those words hit him hard. He stepped out into the backyard. The night sky was clear. Stars dotted the darkness like tiny lights in a sea of black. He stood there in silence, thinking maybe Emma was looking at the same sky too. He raised his hand and waved toward the stars. "I miss you," he whispered. That night he wrote something in his notebook. Not a message, but a memory. He wrote about the time they built a kite together and how it fell into the lake. They laughed so hard that day. He wrote it down like it was a treasure, and then he kept writing, a page a day. Memories, feelings, hopes. He didn't know if she would ever reply, but he knew one thing: he wouldn't forget her, and he wouldn't stop trying, because even when someone moves far away, it doesn't mean they're gone from your heart. They don't give up humans. They don't give up easily, especially not when it comes to the people they care about, and in that small truth, there was hope. Days passed. Noah kept checking his phone, but still no reply from Emma. Even though his heart ached, he didn't send another message. He didn't want to seem desperate. But every time he saw the little last online note beside her name, his chest felt tight. At school, things were the same on the outside, but inside, Noah felt different. He smiled less, laughed less. His friends noticed, but they didn't know what to say. One afternoon, Noah's teacher gave the class a special assignment. "Write a short story based on something that changed your life," she said. Noah stared at his blank notebook for a long time. Then slowly he began to write. He wrote about a girl who used to walk beside him every day. A girl who asked deep questions and made paper boats after school. He changed the names, but the story was theirs. As he wrote, something warm started to grow inside him. Not pain, not sadness, but something brighter. He smiled softly as he remembered all the silly things they used to do. It didn't hurt as much to remember them now. That night, Noah sat on his bedroom floor again, flipping through the notebook he had started. It was filled with moments, thoughts, and drawings. Some pages were messy, some were neat, but they were all real. He opened the last page and began to write a letter. Not to send, just to write. "Dear Emma, I miss you. Not just your voice or your laugh, but the way you made everything feel brighter. I don't know what to say sometimes. I don't want to bother you. Maybe life is busy now. That's okay. Just wanted you to know I still care. I still remember. I still hope. Wherever you are, I hope you're smiling. Love." No, he folded the paper and placed it inside the book she gave him. Then for the first time in weeks, he fell asleep without checking his phone. The next morning, his little sister walked in with the mail. "There's a letter for you," she said, dropping an envelope onto his desk. Noah sat up quickly. It wasn't from school. It wasn't a bill. It was a real letter written in blue ink with handwriting he knew too well. His hands trembled slightly as he opened it. "Hey Noah, I'm sorry. Should have written sooner. Life got so busy here, and I didn't know what to say. I was afraid you'd forgotten me, or that maybe we had grown apart, but I never stopped thinking about you. Sometimes I look up at the stars and wonder if you're doing the same. Thank you for your message. It meant the world. Let's talk soon, okay? I miss you too. Love." Emma. Noah smiled. It wasn't just a small smile. It was a full, wide, heart-deep smile. The silence had finally been broken. The connection wasn't lost. Maybe they were still far apart. Maybe things had changed. But the care was still there. The friendship was still real. And that was enough. That was hope. Because humans, they may feel lost sometimes, but they don't stop reaching out. They don't stop loving. They don't stop believing in second chances. And in that moment, Noah knew their story wasn't over. Asterisk, the wind outside was soft and gentle. It moved through the trees like a whisper, brushing past the windows of Noah's room. He sat by the window, holding Emma's letter in his hands. He'd read it 5 times already. Every time it made him feel something different. Surprise, warmth, a little bit of sadness too. He missed her more now, not because she was far, but because her words reminded him how close they once were. He wanted to reply. He wanted to send a long message and tell her everything. But again, he didn't know how to begin. What if the right words didn't come? What if he said too much? Or too little? Noah stared at the blank page in front of him. He had the pen, had the time. He just didn't have the courage. Instead, he walked outside. The late afternoon sun painted the sky in gold and orange. He wandered to the park, the same one where he and Emma used to play when they were younger. The swings were empty now, and the bench they always sat on was still there. He sat down slowly and looked around. The wind carried the smell of leaves and the sound of children laughing in the distance. Noah took a deep breath. Then, without thinking too much, he took out his phone and recorded a voice message. "Hey, Emma," he said, his voice a little shaky. "I got your letter. Thank you. I was scared you'd forgotten me. But I guess we were both afraid of the same thing. It's funny, isn't it?" He paused for a second, then continued. "I came to the park today. Our bench is still here. It hasn't changed. It made me smile. I hope you're smiling too. Anyway, I miss you. Just wanted you to know." He hit send. Then he sat there, the phone in his lap, heart beating fast. Maybe she would listen to it later. Maybe she would reply. Maybe not. But he had done his part. He had reached out again, and that was something that night. Noah sat on his bed and looked through old drawings Emma had given him. One was of a tree with stars hanging from the branches. At the bottom she had written, "Friendship is like starlight, even when it's far, it still shines." He placed the drawing next to his lamp. The soft light made the stars in the picture glow. Then his phone buzzed. It was a voice message. From Emma. He quickly played it. Her voice was soft, a little sleepy. "Noah, thank you for your message. I listened to it twice. I wish I could sit on that bench with you again. I miss those quiet afternoons. Things are hard here sometimes, but hearing your voice made today better. Let's not wait so long next time, okay?" Noah smiled, tears quietly filling his eyes. Not sad tears, but the kind that come when you feel something deep. They were far apart. But still, they were finding ways back to each other. And that's what humans do, even when unsure. Even when the path is long, they keep trying, they keep hoping, and in that, there is something powerful, something beautiful. A week had passed since Noah and Emma shared their voice messages. The silence after that felt different. Not cold, but gentle, like both of them were just waiting for the right moment to speak again. Noah still missed her every day. He still walked by the places they once shared. The old bookstore, the park, the corner cafe where she once spilled hot chocolate on both of them. Each place held a memory, like a soft whisper from the past. But now the sadness wasn't as sharp. It was still there, but mixed with something warmer, a quiet hope. One rainy afternoon, Noah stayed home. His room was messy with papers and books. He decided to clean his desk just to pass the time. As he opened a drawer, something small and dusty fell out. It was a photo, an old printed photo of him and Emma at a science fair, both smiling with wild hair and matching t-shirts. She had drawn a tiny heart in the corner with her name beside it. Noah stared at the photo for a long time. He remembered that day clearly. They had spent weeks building a tiny model rocket. It had exploded during the test, but they laughed about it for days. Looking at the photo now made something inside him ache. A deep, quiet ache. He held the photo close to his chest and sat down. He wanted to send it to her. But he also didn't want to seem like he was clinging too hard. Still, a small voice inside him said, "Try, reach out, it's who you are." So he took a picture of the photo and opened the chat with Emma. He typed slowly, "Look what I found while cleaning. I remember how proud we were of this rocket." Even though it exploded, he added a laughing emoji, then paused. He continued, "Just wanted to share this memory. Hope it made you smile." He hit send. Then he waited. Hours passed. The rain continued, tapping softly on his window. He tried to focus on a book, but his mind kept drifting back to the message. Then, just before dinner, his phone buzzed. It was a photo, Emma had replied. It was a picture of a notebook, the one they had used to plan the science fair project. She had kept it all this time. On the first page were their rocket sketches, and below that, Emma had written, Team Starlight, Earth's Best Builders. Noah grinned. Then her message followed. I found this after you sent the photo. I forgot I still had it. Thank you for reminding me. You always do that. You bring back the good things. He didn't know what to say, but his heart felt full of memories, full of connection, full of something real, and that's what being human is. Even when far, even when quiet, people hold on to love. They keep tiny things that matter. A photo, a notebook. Noah replied with just one sentence. I'm glad we still carry pieces of each other. That night, he placed the photo in a frame beside his bed. Not to be sad, but to remember. Because their story wasn't just a memory. It was still going, and that was enough. That was hope. That was the human way. Asterisk. It was late at night, and the world was quiet. Noah couldn't sleep. He turned in bed, stared at the ceiling, and listened to the soft ticking of the clock. His phone lay beside him, but there were no new messages. Still, he picked it up and scrolled through the old ones from Emma, the recent ones. Every word felt like a thread connecting them. Even across the miles, he missed talking to her freely, without hesitation, before they used to send 10 messages a day, sometimes even more. Now, days passed with only a few words between them. He didn't blame her. Life was busy. Time zones were different. But deep inside, a part of him felt distant again. He wanted to do something more than just wait. He got out of bed, pulled on a hoodie, and quietly stepped outside. The night air was cool, the street was empty, but above him, the sky was full of stars. He walked to the hill near his house, the one where he and Emma used to lie on the grass and talk about the universe. The stars had always felt magical to them, like tiny lights carrying secrets from faraway places. He lay down and looked up. I wonder if you're looking at the same stars, he whispered. The stars didn't answer, but they blinked softly, as if they were listening. Noah pulled out his phone again. He opened a voice recorder and spoke slowly. Hey, Emma. It's late here. I couldn't sleep, so I came to the hill. The stars are bright tonight. Remember how we used to name them? We called the biggest one Hope and said it would never fade. I guess I needed to see it tonight. He paused, then continued. Sometimes I don't know what to say. I worry I'll sound too emotional or too quiet or too much. But even when things are slow between us, I still care. I still want to hold on to this. Just wanted you to know. He stopped the recording and saved it. He didn't send it. Yet, instead, he watched the sky and felt something calm growing inside him. Even when words are few, feelings still remain. Even when time passes. Memories stay alive, and humans, even when unsure, find ways to show they care. The next morning, after very little sleep, Noah opened his phone and finally sent the voice message to Emma. This time, he didn't wait for a reply. He didn't stare at the screen. He just smiled, got dressed, and headed to school. That afternoon, while walking home, his phone buzzed. A voice message from Emma. He stopped under a tree and played it. Her voice was soft and filled with feeling. Noah, I listened to your message while standing on my balcony. The stars were out here too. I smiled when you talked about hope. I still look for that star. I miss you. I miss how easy it was to talk when we were close. I think I've been scared too. Scared of saying the wrong thing. Scared of changing. But hearing you last night, it reminded me that some things don't fade. There was a short pause. I don't want distance to win. I want us to keep. This, even if it takes effort. Because you matter. You always have. Noah's heart felt warm. His eyes filled with quiet tears. She still cared. And she wanted to try too. That was all he needed, because for people like them, for humans who carry love in quiet ways, distance is never the end.
Ow.
It's just another space to cross.
Ow.
One message, one memory, one voice at a time. Noah stood at the post office, holding a small brown envelope in his hands. Inside it was something simple, a bracelet made of blue thread and tiny wooden beads. Emma had given it to him when they were 12, and he had kept it safe ever since. Now he had made a new one, almost the same, with her favorite colors. He wrote a short note to go with it. "Hi Emma, I made this for you. It's just a little thing, but I thought maybe it could travel the miles between us. No matter how far we are, we're still connected." Noah, he dropped the envelope into the box and took a deep breath. The past few weeks had been better. Their messages were more frequent now, short, warm, real. Some days they sent voice notes, other days just a photo or a joke. It wasn't like before, but it was something beautiful in its own quiet way. Still, Noah sometimes felt the space between them. He wanted to see her again, not just hear her voice or read her words. He missed the little things. The way she tapped her foot when thinking. The way she looked up before answering. Deep questions. But he didn't know how to say that. He didn't want to make her feel pressure. He didn't want to rush anything. That night he wrote in his notebook again, the one where he kept their memories. He sketched to people on different sides of the earth, connected by a line of stars. At the top, he wrote, "Even across the sky, we find ways to stay close." A few days later, a message came from Emma. It was a photo. Her wrist, wearing the bracelet, and her smile in the background. The message read, "It arrived today. I love it. I haven't taken it off." Noah felt something deep inside him relax. Like a quiet yes whispered into the heart. He replied, "I'm glad it reached you. What carries a piece of here and a piece of me." I sent back a voice message. Her voice was gentle. "I've been thinking, maybe someday I could visit. Not now, but maybe during the winter break. What do you think?" Noah's heart skipped. He replayed her message twice. Just to be sure, he heard it right. Then he smiled wide and real. He replied quickly, "I'd love that. I'd wait at the airport with a sign that says, 'Welcome back, Stargirl.'" She sent a laughing emoji. The next day, they had a longer chat, like old times. They talked about silly things, their dreams, and what had changed since she moved. There were quiet moments and little jokes. And even a song Noah sang off-key, just to make her laugh. For the first time in months, Noah felt that the distance was shrinking. Slowly, yes. But surely, because humans, even when far apart, don't give up on the people they care about. They find ways. Through letters, through stars, through bracelets, through shared memories, and every small step becomes a bridge. That night, Noah looked at the sky again. He searched for the star Emma had once named Hope. It was there, faint but steady. Just like their bond, he whispered, "We're getting closer." And that was enough. Asterisk, the cold wind of December brushed against Noah's cheeks as he walked home from school. His backpack felt heavier than usual, not because of books, but because of the thoughts running through his mind. Winter break was only 2 weeks away. Emma had said she might visit. She had said she'd try, but Noah hadn't heard anything more about it since that message. Part of him didn't want to ask. He didn't want to sound like he was waiting too much. But the truth was, he was waiting. Every day, every night, Noah looked up at the cloudy sky. The stars were hidden. Still he whispered, "Please." At home, he walked straight to his room. His little sister peeked in, holding a small paper snowflake. She had made "Want to help me make more." He smiled a little and shook his head. "Maybe later." She nodded and ran off, leaving a trail of glitter behind her. Noah sat down at his desk and opened his notebook again. The pages were full now, filled with his memories of Emma, their messages, and little drawings. He turned to a blank page and began to write a letter he might never send. "Dear Emma, I don't know if you're coming, and that's okay. But I keep hoping. I keep thinking about what it would be like if I saw you again. I wonder if we'd just smile or cry or both. It's strange how someone can be so far, yet feel so close in the heart. I just wanted you to know, I still think about you every day, and I'll be here, waiting." No, he closed the notebook and placed it beside the bracelet she had once given him. Then his phone buzzed. His heart jumped. It was a message from Emma. He opened it quickly. "Noah, I have news. I'm coming." He stared at the words. He blinked twice, and he read them again. She was coming. His fingers shook as he typed. "Are you serious?" she replied. "Yes. My dad got time off work, and we'll be in town for 3 days. I told him I wanted to see you first." Noah couldn't stop smiling. His hands covered his mouth as the joy spilled out in quiet laughter. She was coming. She hadn't forgotten. She still cared. In that moment, the cold outside didn't matter. The sky didn't need stars to shine, because hope was already burning inside him, bright and strong. That night, he stayed up making a little welcome card. He drew stars across the top and wrote, "For the girl who named the sky." The next morning, he began planning. He wanted to take her to the park, to the hill, to their favorite cafe, be even the bookstore, just to smile at the shelf where they once hid silly notes in random pages. He didn't know how the visit would go. Would it feel like old times? Would it feel different? He didn't have answers. But he had faith. And he had hope, because humans, they don't forget the ones they love. Even when the distance is long, even when time moves fast, they hold on. They try, they wait, and when the moment finally comes, they open their arms. The morning was cold, but Noah's hands were warm, not because of gloves, but because of the excitement in his heart. He stood at the small-town bus station, holding a cardboard sign that read, "Welcome back, Stargirl." He smiled at the words. Emma would understand them right away. Every few minutes he checked his phone, then looked up at the road. The wind played with his hair. His cheeks were red from the cold, but he didn't care. He had waited so long for this day. Finally, a blue bus pulled in. The door opened, and people began to step out, carrying bags and coats and sleepy smiles. Noah held his breath. Then he saw her dad, Emma. She stepped off the bus slowly, wearing a navy coat and a bright yellow scarf. Her eyes searched the crowd. Then she saw the sign. Her face lit up like the morning sun. "Noah," she said, laughing. Noah dropped the sign and ran to her. Tut. They stopped in front of each other, both unsure for half a second, then smiled and hugged tightly. They didn't say much at first. He just stood there, breathing, laughing, quietly holding the moment they had both dreamed of for months. "You're really here," Noah whispered. "I told you I would be," she said, as they walked. Together through the town, everything felt familiar and new at the same time. They visited the bookstore, the park, and the hill. They laughed about old stories and shared new ones. Emma said, "It feels like I never left." Noah nodded. "But it also feels like we've grown, like the friendship got stronger through the distance." Later that evening, they sat side by side on the hill, wrapped in a shared blanket, staring at the stars above. "There it is," Noah pointed. "Your star, the one you named Hope." Emma smiled. "I always looked for it. Even on nights I felt alone." Shh. He looked at her gently. "I did too. Even when things were quiet. Even when I was afraid we were drifting apart." She turned toward him. "Thank you for not giving up. For writing, for waiting, for being you." Noah's voice was soft. "That's just what people do when someone really matters." There was silence, a peaceful silence that said everything their hearts couldn't. They had been apart. They had felt distant. They had almost lost the connection, but they didn't, because humans don't stop caring. They may fall quiet. They may lose touch, but deep inside, they keep holding on. Through memories, messages, letters, voice notes, stars, and hope, they find their way back. Before Emma left 3 days later, they stood at the same bus stop again. This time, there were no signs. It's just eyes filled with emotion. "I'll visit." "Again," she said. "I'll wait," Noah replied. She took his hand. "We don't have to be close in miles to stay close in heart." He nodded. "We never really were apart." As the bus pulled away, Noah didn't feel sad. He felt strong. Felt hopeful. He felt human, and in that quiet strength, in that gentle, loving, never giving up spirit, their story lived on.